Hey everybody, it's AJ Poyton with Better, Faster, and Easier, and I'm here with longtime friend Ryan Taft. And for those who are new to the show, this is where we ponder life together and we talk about how to make life either better, faster, or results faster, or easier. So Ryan is a great friend. We met, back 2001, something like that?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah, and in fact, it's you're like one of the few people. Well, not few, but I definitely have a very vivid image of when we first met. Yet Ryan is a sales trainer. He was a national sales trainer for a company that did billions of dollars in sales from that corporate point of view, and then he's also been able to have great insight on breaking down that model for even the small solo entrepreneur, solopreneur type of person, and also an expert in the arenas of multi-level marketing and what makes that type of marketing work and not work. So, anyways, welcome to the show, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you, AJ. Appreciate you having me on the show. By the way, great idea for a show. I'm totally excited about pondering life with you.
You know, um, one of the strategies that we've always done is you can think and strategize about what you need to do, and then there's just a point to where you just kind of need to do it and see what happens. And so this is just kind of me just doing it. I know that I'm curious about where the show is going to be like a year from now, because I'm sure it's going to be a completely different thing. I've been talking about doing something, and instead of overthinking it, I just said, hey, let's just go do it. And who I'm going to start with? I'm going to start with all those amazing expert people that I know on. I know. So you're one of those amazing expert people.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Ryan wrote a book called "The Sales Cure," and today in today's economy, that with the way businesses are, if they're struggling, the one thing that can definitely cure their business and cure all their financial challenges, the sales, right? So, anyways, Ryan, I just kind of want to get your thoughts and ideas of, what's going on in the world today, and, what in terms of maybe specifically sales, or, trends in sales of how people are selling, and those sort of things. What do you see, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, one of the biggest things I'm noticing. I mean, there's a lot of different. I mean, a lot of movement going on in the world today from a sales perspective, because anything that affects
Hot,
the economy.
sorry, hot, hot.
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
light you on fire right there.
Yeah, sorry to interruption, but I had to say something to it. Okay, go ahead.
It's actually hilarious. One of the biggest trends, when you have the economy moving as much as it is and so much uncertainty, you're going to have sales be affected, because the psychology of the public is, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should do this, and they're holding things, tighter to the vest than ever before. And so really being able to connect with people more so than ever has to be right on the top of the list. Do you remember when the economy was really booming?
Uh-huh.
I was standing on a stage in front of about 400 or 500 salespeople in Northern California, and I said, look, because we were starting to see the bubble and all these different things. It was in the home building industry, and I said, if your approach is to try and get through the sale as quick as possible, and just kind of that, you remember the term GTM, get the money.
Yeah.
That if that's like your mentality and your thinking in this new economy that we're about to go into, you're probably going to fail, and you're probably going to. And I don't like telling people they're going to fail, and I like being honest, because you have to take the time to find out the needs and to figure out what's going on with the person and really connect with them and build that trust, because people are picky about where they're going to put their money right now in a product or service. So they don't just want to be slammed into a deal like you maybe could have done with people back when they didn't care as much about if they lost money.
Yeah, yeah. So I see that trend of, back then it was really, you could really hard close a person,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was okay because there was money and they thought there would be more of it. So yeah, whatever. If it's a bad investment, fine. If it's a good investment, we're good. But well, nowadays it's not necessarily that way. But I see people going for what that was what I would call an irresponsible hard sale.
Hmm.
And then nowadays, I see a trend in teaching that is, well, it's all about the rapport and rapport. It's like, yeah, yes, I'm glad that you're finally getting that, but they're almost going overboard to where, yeah, but when do you ask for the money? And they're going to
Yes,
what's an irresponsible soft sale. And so the
you
thing
got to
is,
balance.
they're selling from impulse on one side, which is hard, or impulse from the side. They don't have a strategy. They were doing it wrong on both ends. And so,
Right.
what are your thoughts about balancing that?
It's all written in here. Yeah, it does need to be balanced. The selling is a process. You you and I have both written about this in your book. You talked about it in terms of saying hi to somebody and the stages of
Uh huh.
getting closer to somebody from a dating perspective. And I teach about that often because it's so true. If you look at, there's probably a little bit of merit to the guy who can go in and just be like, "Hey, I want your number," and if he does it enough times, he'll probably get a couple.
Hmm.
Sure, but boy, moving faster. That's not really moving faster. That most people can't handle that type of rejection. So having a balanced approach where you establish some rapport. If you think about dating,
Hmm.
you go out with somebody, and your goal is to connect, right? To
Yeah.
to build trust, to really gain that confidence that you have some things in common.
Hmm.
The second thing after that is you usually ask some questions to find out what's going on in their life. You investigate their wants and needs. True in the sales process as well.
Yeah.
And I find that listening there is the thing that most people really miss. They just kind of are pushing their agenda onto people in a sales process rather than really listening to the wants and or needs.
Yeah. That's the place where I see people skipping too.
They just assume, well, here's my product, here's what it does. I call it darting. Have you ever seen? And maybe you haven't seen this, or in your younger years, maybe you've seen this, but I'm sure you can imagine maybe a very intoxicated guy trying to play darts,
Uh huh. Yeah.
right? And he's trying to hit the bullseye, and usually is hitting the wall or people, or whatever. What I look at salespeople doing when they're really bad at investigating people's wants and needs and really asking about their true emotional buying
Hmm.
strategy is they're kind of like a drunk person playing darts. They start throwing out what they think are features and benefits. It does this. We got this. And the person is like, oh, that's cool. And then they run with that thinking that's really what the person wants. And it's almost never the case.
Hmm.
In dating, it's the same thing. You got to find out what someone's really looking for and have that conversation and really listen.
Hmm.
Go dancing, which is a form of demonstrating the product,
Glad you're
whatever.
dancing.
Yeah, I'm not a dancer at all. I know you do dancing. I'm not. And then you have a little bit of soft close, overcome objections, handle resistance, and then close, and that could be leading up to marriage or whatever the case is. But that's the process, and people try to skip it, and you can't.
Hmm. Yeah, the ones who say, "Oh, that way of selling before doesn't work," it's like, you were doing it wrong in the first place. You know.
You're so right, 100% right. If one of my former mentors, he used to say, there's people who've been bad golfers for 30 years. Just doing more of something doesn't make you good at it.
Uh huh. Well, it's the, you know, quite frankly, in real estate world, all of a sudden everybody is a real estate teacher because they made money at it, and just because they made money at it doesn't mean they know how to teach it. And quite frankly, everybody made money at it, so it doesn't necessarily mean you were good at it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just made money
Right.
because, you know, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, any house you made money on.
Well, in the new home sales arena, people were lining up, and it was actually detrimental to go through the full sales process because
Uh-huh.
you weren't able to kind of quote unquote turn tables quick enough.
Yeah.
And so that process actually hurt people back in the boom. So they had a false sense of skill.
Yeah. Well, what you're saying is really important because, we've had this discussion with technology today. People know so much that the way they buy is completely different. It's not, I'm going to go see you so I can get, learn what do you have or your information about that. The client sometimes knows more than the salesperson. And so you actually have
Yeah.
to sell them on something different.
Right.
From your perspective, if you can't sell them on features and benefits, so to say, because the client does know more for them, then
Mhm.
then what do you need to do to make that sale happen?
Well, oddly enough, people think it's all about price, and in this economy, you'll have customers come in, and you're right, they've done their research with the internet and technology. They know often, like you said, more than the salesperson does, which shouldn't be the case, but it happens. Which is a clue to the salesperson they need to get on the internet and think about what their customer is looking at. Yet, what it's really about, the name of the game at that point is really about taking care of them. I know people who think that they're price shoppers, yet they might be looking to buy, I don't know, some sort of gizmo or gadget or something like that, and they'll go around and shop around and they'll actually buy the one that's more expensive because they had a better experience and they connected better with the salesperson who seemed to have their best interest in mind rather than the guy who just was there to make a sale.
Hmm.
So really taking care of them is a huge, huge part of the process.
Yeah. The last few people that I had business transactions with, I'll tell you, I think the process is that they bought me before I even told them what I had to offer. You know.
That's so true with you. I've done sales and seminars with you for years and years and
Uh-huh.
years, and I've been in the circles of conversation where people say, "Well, gosh, I don't know what AJ's going to be selling here, but I just like him. I hope he offers something because I'd really like to buy it." And I'm like,
Well, thank you.
"Sweet, yeah."
Well, thank
And
you.
it's so true. So, having a pleasing personality and being able to connect with people, I think it was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I could be misquoting this, but it said something along the lines of that the need to get recognition from people and to connect with people is so great in our human nature that if someone isn't getting it, they'll actually go insane and create an alternate
Hmm.
reality and world in order to create different personalities and experiences
Hmm.
in order to get that connection. So to me, that means that the person that gives someone connection that they might not be getting anywhere else, which is a lot nowadays,
Uh huh.
could become the most important person in that person's world.
I would imagine, with the social media and thing with people just all of a sudden they've taken the social experience to quote, the Facebook movie, it's like taking the full live social experience onto the internet. They're missing that connection and they substitute it, so they're missing it even more so. So to, pardon me, to have that connection is even more important nowadays than any place.
Yeah, and speaking of the Facebook movement and the social media, one of the things that really is a necessity for people, because you have a lot of people that are coming from the corporate world that are
Uh-huh.
becoming solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, maybe even out of necessity because they can't find a job. But just because you're in business doesn't mean you understand how to run a business.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were good at one facet of something and you decided to build a business around it. And if it wasn't selling, then the thing that really makes your business run is sales. So you
Uh-huh.
could be good at building a website and you could start up a web design company, but if you don't know how to sell that to
Uh-huh.
people, your business isn't going to grow very fast or maybe at all. So learning the skills of how to connect to people and how to get out there really come into play. And I was having this conversation with you actually, in the fact that one of the number one things people can do to get their business jump started is go network.
Yeah.
Go out and meet people. They're not going to come to your house. They're not just going to jump on your Facebook post when you say, "I started a new website company, check it out." That's not connecting with people. That's just throwing out a fishing line and hoping that,
Uh-huh.
that someone's going to jump on it. And you might get a couple, but you've got to be proactive and get out there and go shake some hands.
I've seen so much. It's amazing because I've been networking more than I ever have before, and
Uh-huh.
a little bit of confession. Although I'm good at it and I know it, and I even have been teaching people for years. I've never enjoyed the process in the past. It was if it's like I'll do it and I'll be effective, but if there's any way I can not do it, then I wouldn't do it. And yet, I realized there was a little bit of shift in my own mentality because as I shifted, as I took a different approach to it, the last 6 months, I'm telling you, I have so much fun networking and meeting people. Maybe because, of particular processes or something. I've turned it into more of a game. And I live in Tampa. I'm out here in Vegas right now, and just for in my spare time, I'm looking up networking things just so I have something fun to do. You know, so because I see so many people doing it ineffectively, what are some good networking tips that you might give people?
Well, the first one is do it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Well,
As simple as that is, that's probably the number one stumbling block. Oh, I'm no good at networking. Why? Because you're not there.
well, it's just like anything. If you don't get out there and start to do it, you'll never
Mm.
get good at it. I think a lot of people are getting ready to get ready.
Let me add this distinction.
Uh-huh.
When you say just do it, it doesn't mean go to the event. It means network. Because I see some people, yeah, I go to networking events all the time. Yeah, but you're
Yeah,
still not networking. You're going there.
they stand in the corner with their drink and they don't talk to anybody.
Yeah. So,
You
so,
know?
so so I guess step one is go to it. Step two is actually network.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this too, because I know that you've had some shifts and breakthroughs as you've mentioned and we've talked about. Yet, I think I think the thing that makes these networking events challenging is particularly kind of the social mixers. They got the open bar and maybe it's some sort of group or something and you pay your $10 and you go in or you're a guest or whatever. And you go in and you get your drink and it seems like a frenzy of people with business cards that are trying to it's like the game of how many business cards can I collect, and it's
Yeah,
all about themselves trying to sell you on why you need them. And
yeah,
that to me doesn't sound like a fun environment. Like
uh huh,
I'd like to have more of a social environment. And one of the biggest trends for 2013, in my opinion, is if you expect your business to grow, you have got to be a servant to other people, which is exactly what you're so great at, AJ.
hmm
Is the reason people like you and want to follow you is because you truly want to serve people. You have some people who say they do, and you can sense they have that agenda that they're really looking to just sell you something or whatever the case.
yeah, yeah. You go to the thing is there's a difference between networking and selling, and a lot of people go there and they're trying to sell you, and sell me. It's like I don't. This isn't the environment for that.
No, no, no,
It's
no, no.
about networking, and but then it's not just networking. Here's my cards stuff. It's about you know how can I add value? How can I add value?
That's it. That's 100% it. It's when you're sitting there having a conversation with somebody. Don't start out your conversation by telling them all about what you do. That's like rapport breaking 101. Understand that you have to find out what's going on in their world, and the question is how can you help them in their business? And if
Hmm
you can be a giver of that with no expectation of return, you're going to see that pay dividends. In fact,
hmm
the objective in my mind of a networking event isn't to go get customers and to go sell your product or business. It's really to go make some friends that they get to know you and your integrity and what you do so well that they open up their warm market and start referring you to the people they know, and that's the name of the game.
Yeah. In fact, just last week, one of the people that I was networking with, all of a sudden, he says, "Oh, by the way," he gave me a link to his website. He's got like my video of me and my straight jacket on his front page, and he's got links to me. He goes, "I just love what you said and what you did. You already made an impact. I want other people to know you." So he put me on the front page of his website. You know?
Yeah, and I mean that's a classic example of it being paid forward, and so having that servant mentality. And here's the challenge nowadays in my coaching and in my training, I'm not so much focused on helping people with the skill of how to do sales. Yes, that's needed, and there's a portion of that. Yet, what I find is if you know how to do something, yet your mindset is messed up, and you're kind of have self-limiting thoughts about the effectiveness of what you're doing, your belief is jacked up. In other words, that's where you really need to spend some
hmm
time is in your thinking process. So, in a down economy, and I know you and I have talked about this as well. In a down economy, it's
For the
almost
people
human
out there,
nature.
can you tell Ryan and I talk a lot because we
Yeah,
want to say we talk, but we do.
we do. I mean,
And we
absolutely.
get better distinctions every time we bring it up again.
It is very true. The human nature in a down economy is for people to hold things closer and to try and get more from people.
Uh huh.
And the reality is it's kind of like that Seinfeld episode where George Costanza realizes his thinking is completely wrong and everything he does causes him to have a horrible life. So he just says, "I'm going to do everything the opposite of whatever my natural instinct is." And all of a sudden, he's got a great job with the Yankees. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. Life is going great. And that's very much true in a down economy.
Got frozen there for a second.
the better your business will get.
We froze for a second. So you said you were talking about Costanza. That's
Yeah.
pretty much true in a down economy.
In a down economy, it's natural instinct to try and hold things tighter and to
Uh-huh.
get more from people.
Yeah.
Is the worse the economy gets, the more you need to give. Be a giver, be a server, help other people,
Uh-huh.
and do that, and you'll watch your business grow because of that.
So imagine you are a deer and you're in the forest and there's very little food around, and so now you're kind of worried, and then you go to a place and wow, that person's giving out food. It's like, ooh, that's good. I got some free food there. You're going to come back and go, I want more food there. You're going to keep coming back to that person. It's like pretty soon you really like that person because that person keeps giving you food instead of me going out there and kind of doing that. And so all of a sudden, they they got this great affinity for you because they doing that. And so in this business, you know, so here's something that not maybe people can or may not have this advantage. I'll tell you one of my advantages that's really working for me is because I have such a vast array of knowledge and expertise. I've decided this is where I'm making money on my business, and then all this other things that I used to make some money that's really not taking the forefront. It's worth thousands of dollars. I'm giving that away for free all over the place, and people are just like eating it up. They're loving it, and they want more, and it goes great. Well, now I have this, and so like I have like thousands of dollars of information that I've been able to give out for free.
Yeah, and that's 100% true, and that is absolutely the way 2013 is going to need to go down for people. Is the more you let go, the more that'll come back to you in this. And if you're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, "Gosh, well, I don't have that much," then you need to get into creation mode. You need to start creating some content. You need to start learning more. One of the guys that I've worked with in the past, Doug Weed, he's a presidential historian. He's written several books. He said he gets asked all the time how he wrote a book, and he said, "I read 300 books."
Uh-huh.
Right? You read 300, one pops out. So if you're sitting there and you're creating content, or maybe you don't have enough content, you need to plug into more of what AJ's doing, plug into what I'm doing. Everyone that's on this show, just start becoming a student and let your creativeness go, and it will start to fill up more and more things that you can do. To serve your clientele and to be more creative and start generating. That's key. Very.
So
one thing.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention this in the networking scenario. One of the things I see people do is maybe they're not because I'm kind of known as a little bit of an outgoing person.
Yeah.
You should meet you have met my wife. She's really outgoing. She's not afraid to go talk to anybody, but there are people who need to do networking that maybe are a little bit shy.
Mm-hmm.
Great idea is to get yourself a wingman, someone who's maybe a little better at networking, to go with you, that you can watch and see what they do, and then maybe mirror and match, or use them as a mentor and accountability partner towards doing that.
That's very, very helpful. I know that I've done that a couple of times with some clients. In fact, now that you say that, it really makes me think. That could actually be like a value added service. If you're an outgoing type, someone's going to listen to this and say, hey, I could base a whole business after this.
Right.
Be that networkingwingman.com or something like that, where you actually teach people those skills, but then you go with them and you stand next to them, and then you do maybe a coaching after action. Okay, well, see here, you weren't listening here. What did they say? It's like, here's how you can hone that. Here's how you can direct that sale. That could be a really good thing.
It really could. And if you would, AJ, I know you do something really different and special with the contacts that you make in regards to technology and how you follow up. Because isn't that the biggest thing? People collect all these cards and then nobody calls anybody. Can you share what you do? Because I love this.
It's really amazing. It's like, I can hand out tons of cards and no one ever emails me or communicates with me. It's like, well, and I got to imagine that. So I know most people don't do it.
Right.
And so my particular system is, on my phone, I have access to my database. And so when I get a business card, I have to enter it into my database within 24 hours. And sometimes I do it in the parking lot before I leave the event. But, at the very least, within 24 hours. and I contact them within 24 hours, and I don't sell them. I don't do anything. I just simply say, hey, it was great, nice to meet you. Anything I or someone in my network can do for you, let me know. Here's my contact information, so you have in digital format, And I take that business card, and forgive me if you give me a business card before, and I threw it away. But I got the most important thing on the information, right?
I think you
because
still
that's
have
my
the
filing
info.
system. Because I can't have stacks of business cards all over the place. These ones were entered, these ones were not, and then you get confused. So if I have a business card sitting on the table, I know it's not entered. I have to enter it, and then I throw it away. It's good for clutter. It's good for on a lot of reasons to actually throw those cards away because they're used.
Right.
I put things in the notes area, but and then here's the thing: because I contacted them in 24 hours, I know that no one else did because no one else contacted me. All of a sudden, I am set apart from everyone else they met last night, and it looks like I got my stuff together.
Well, you do. That's the key.
Yeah.
And what I coach people to do is kind of give them proof of connection and in that email. So what I want to point out to people is you didn't just send out a blast email to everyone you collected cards from or got cards from and say, "Great to meet you. Let me know if you need anything." You're personalizing it. "Hey, Cindy, it was great to meet you," and then you can add something like, "I loved what you said about blah, blah, blah," to show that you were actually listening. And I know that one of the things you do is you have sticky notes that you put on cards that you take a look or two. So that's again, people, it goes a really long way when you show people that you're listening to them,
I'd rather collect half the amount of business cards and have personal notes written on it than get twice as many business cards with no notes on it.
Amen, brother.
And so I have the template of what I normally say, and then I add in that one line, and I actually keep it, in the notes section on my database. So when I talk to them, I have that information.
Yeah, that's brilliant, brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. So any other networking tips?
There's two types of there's several types of networking. I was having this conversation with my friend Mike Calderwood the other day. He's a coach as well. And he was talking about the long-term networking groups versus the mixers. And sometimes the mixers can be very much that, here's my card. And there's a place for that. Yet we've talked about how sometimes it takes a while to build trust and relationship. And if you can get into a longer-term networking group that meets on a regular basis, and sometimes they have a fee, sometimes you can be a guest or whatever the case is, but if you find the right one with the right kind of people, and not that you're trying to get them to be your customers, again, you're looking to create relationships with them, serve them, so they open up their databases to you and start referring you like your friend did. That can go a long way, and sometimes those are more profitable.
Yeah, they have been for me, for sure. So this is my thought for those people. If you can't find that type of group, start that type of group. Become that circle of influence. If we create the world around us, and it's either find a group to join or start a group and have others join you. And that's my big piece of advice. All the things that we talked about, you and I actually have systems and things that those who are the most scared and just can never see themselves do it. We got these simple strategies. I know you do and I do. We share many of the same similar ones that could just make it all of a sudden, oh, well, that's so much easier. So I want people to follow you, get your book, and they can learn a lot more of those tips. How can they do that?
Real simple. My website has everything on it right there. If you just go to RyanTaft.com.
I'll write the link below.
Okay, great. And I've got an opt-in to get free video training, different things. I tend to work with sales organizations and salespeople, but the funny thing is I don't care if you're a dog groomer, you're a salesperson. I don't care if you're working in a cubicle, you're a salesperson. So it really applies to just about everybody. And those that argue with me, I say, well, have you ever been on a date? You're trying to sell something to somebody. So yes, you are in sales. So RyanTaft.com, I've got my Facebook, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, all that stuff there. And the book is available on the site. It's also available on Amazon.com. So either way, you can do that. And I appreciate the time. It's been. I love chatting with you.
Well, Ryan is definitely one of those relationships that you want to have. So everyone start building a relationship with Ryan as well. Hey, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this show. Like it, subscribe it. You can go to the blog or the YouTube channel and share it. I really appreciate that. And let me know how I could be of service to you as well. And we'll see you next round. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, AJ.